Hi, let's talk about what it takes to become the highest price option in your industry. So imagine that. I alluded to becoming the highest price option, that's a possibility for you in my last video when I was talking about increasing your prices. So let's take that a step further, not only increasing your prices, but becoming the most expensive option. so, do you allow yourself to go there? so, um, so I'm going to talk about a time. So today I own an agency, a multi six figure agency. I've been in business for going on 10 years. And what I know now compared to what I know when I started out is a lot different. And my mindset is different. Things had to change about my perceptions in order to get where I am today. And I want to share that experience with you. And it started, gosh, maybe 20 years ago, before the idea of even becoming a website developer and a consultant even occurred to me. So I used to be a toy store owner. I opened a specialty toy store, and I'm talking about brick and mortar. So walked out of the door of my home every morning and around the corner into the front door of the toy shop that I opened. And I had no idea how to be a business owner. And many of us, when we're starting out in business, we might know a little bit about our industry, but we don't know how to be a business owner. That's very common. And that was me. I did not know how to be a business owner. I didn't know that much even about the specialty toy industry. And so what I did was I looked to the other specialty toy shops that were, I don't know, in other cities, across town. I'd show up and I'd browse around and I'd look at the tags and I'd make notes and, okay, what products were they carrying? What was their pricing? How much did they mark things up? How did they display things? Just tried to absorb everything. And then I went and duplicated that in my toy store. And business did not take off. So I wasn't any different from my competition. And then something started happening around the holiday season in October, November, December. That's like where I learned 75% of toy store sales, or even retail sales, I think, happen in those 3 months. Places like my grocery store across the street started carrying the same products that I carried. And like my grocery store, I was competing with my grocery store, and they were selling the same products, my best sellers, for less money. And all I had there, and so there was nothing different about what I was selling compared to what the grocery store was selling in their toy section, except for price. And the only way I felt I could compete there was on price. And I didn't even begin to think about how I could maybe be unique and just not carry the same products, right? Or come up with ideas for how to really be different that would motivate people to come to my shop. Um, Instead, I did what was easier because I just didn't know what I was doing. Um, and like, so I would carry the easy sell Beanie Babies, right? That where the pricing was controlled, but everyone sold them and you could count on people to show up to buy Beanie Babies. And it was just a way to get people in the store. And that was a struggle. And the store closed, that it closed after 3 years. There were multiple factors that played into that, including the economy. But a big part of it was that I wasn't any different from the grocery store or the competition, right? And my competition, it was really easy to crush me, in terms of of competition. So if you, especially if you're a grocery store. so um so how so I'm going to assume that you've done the research on what might you might consider your competition, the other people in your industry, and the other businesses in your industry, and what their pricing is. And you may look at that and wonder, can I charge that much? Can I charge more than that? Um, and the answer depends on, um, are you willing? Are you? Can you be different? Once you've overcome the idea of, okay, I can increase my prices, right? That in my previous video. Now, um, what is it about you that's different from your competition that makes me, or your customer, not me, but that makes your customer, your prospect, want to buy from you? Or are you just doing what everyone else is doing? If you're just doing what everyone else is doing, then you're the only thing you really have to compete on is your price, and you cannot be the most expensive option. So look at what you offer and identify those pieces that make you extra, what makes you better, and so that you can talk about those differences with confidence in your sales conversations and in your writing that you do on your website and your sales pages. And you can feel confident that you should be the most expensive option. So let's use another example. So that was, my toy store experience. I learned, that just because everyone's doing something doesn't mean that I should do it. So that was an important business lesson for me to learn. And so that's some homework. How are you different? How can you be even more different? Well, let's talk about an industry that's a little more subjective, like an artist or a graphic designer. You can be a great, highly skilled, talented graphic designer, and it can feel very subjective, because only certain people are going to like your particular style. So if you're at kind of a threshold of your, it becomes at what point can you start being the most expensive option? Does it really depend upon your portfolio? And I would argue that it might not. Like, I'm not 100% sure. That's not my industry, but I will tell you my own experience with graphic designers as a customer and why I'm willing to pay more. So here's what can make you different. And if you have a product or a service that is similar to that, where it's kind of, well, how do I, is it just, how do I make graphic design services different, right? Or better, or any kind of artistic type services. So here's what the big difference makers for me when I'm working with a graphic designer, I'm outsourcing work and I'm paying them for their services. The big difference maker for me is how mature you are in business, like how you interact with me. And that doesn't have to do with how long you've been in business or your age. That just has to do with your business communication skills. So do you respond promptly? When I ask for changes, do you make them? And do you like, how good are you at responding to my feedback? So I've become really good at giving feedback. So is the person doing the work good at responding to that feedback? That's priceless to me, because that saves me a lot of time instead of kind of going over the same stuff over and over. Is the does the person, the designer, skilled at responding to feedback? Are they consultative in their approach? Do they help me, when I'm coming up with a bad idea, because I have bad ideas? Are they consultative about helping me understand why I might not want to go in a certain direction based upon their skill and experience? Do they invoice me promptly? How many revisions do I get? Does it really need to be, do we need to, does a graphic designer really need to limit their revisions to 2 or 3 revisions? Or can they bump it up to 6, 8, 10 revisions and simply charge more for their services, or build the additional cost of the revisions into the proposal so that it's clear upfront? So those types of approaches, with being, that's what separates the kind of amateurs from the real pros who can charge more for their services, are their just kind of business skills. And skills at delivering, and then there's delivering the files in the formats that I need them to, so I can always spot an inexperienced designer when they send me these files that are not usable because I don't have the software InDesign, right? So I can't, if you send me an InDesign file, I can't open it, right? So that kind of stuff, right? So if I don't have to deal with that kind of messy stuff, that I will pay more for that. I will pay more for that. And that's not really a statement at all about the graphic designer's design skills. So think about that as well. Like, do you have, how good are you in this area? Whether you're, graphic design may not be your industry, but those are important things too. The kind of business communication and savvy in your particular industry, how accessible you are, in the sales process, or, even during the work process, or how clear you are about saying when you're not available. So if you can clearly, with confidence, say, I only work between these hours and I will not be looking at my email outside of these hours, that's a confident communication. It's a limit, and it's a sign of a mature business owner, and that person can charge more for their services because they can set limits. Like, that's the kind of person I want to work with, someone who is confident about their boundaries, someone who can say, I do not communicate with me via text message. So that's an example of a limit. So those are, I'm probably going on too long about the various kind of business skills that aren't necessarily directly related to the product or service that you're offering. That's the kind of often a difference maker that just makes the process smoother of working with you. And you can be the more or most expensive option in your industry when you have those skills down. So look at your own business. Let me know what questions come up, because I'd love to answer your questions about, what is it that is making you think that you can't be the most expensive option in your industry, and I'll try to tackle it and see if we can come up with some solutions for you so that you can get there.